Hi, everybody. This is Candy Waller, also known as CWall from CWall Sports and Entertainment, here with you to share an amazing story from one of our local team owners here. As you all can see, sometimes I check in, I'm by myself, and other times I am not. And it is so great to be checking in not by myself at this moment as I'm sitting here with Paxton Baker. So, if you all do not know Paxton, you all will be knowing a lot more about him and all of his great work and who he is and his just extensive experience in all things DC sports, all things BET, and all things upcoming for the NBA Africa League as well. So, Paxton, how are you? Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Candy. I am healthy and positive and very thankful to be here and to be able to check in with you.
I appreciate it so very much. This is exciting. So, I was going to do a whole long reading of your bio and all of
No,
that.
no, no.
You know what? I just think that Paxton should share this himself. So, tell us about yourself.
Originally born in California, and I'm the opposite of most people who go from east to west. I'm actually the person that came from west to east, and came to the East Coast to visit way back in the early '70s, and fell in love with it from the very beginning. I just really appreciated the energy of the East Coast, the people. I actually like the change of seasons. I enjoy winter, I enjoy summer, the fall, and the spring, and enjoy it all. And I find the energy just to be overwhelmingly positive. And literally, from the first time I came east as a young person, it just really like grabbed me. So when the opportunity came, I came east originally to go to academy, and then ended up going to college on this side of the world. I go back to visit California pretty regularly and still have a lot of family out there, but I love being on this side. So I've lived all over the United States, but Washington D.C. is the longest of any place, and so I've been here now since January of '90. So it's been a great run in Washington D.C. Uh, so that would be that would be kind of just the basis of it. And then as far as Washington, D.C., I just think it's a really, really special place.
Mhm.
And I made it my home. And when opportunity comes to move other places, I don't really give it a lot of thought because I just enjoy being here so much.
It is tough to leave the area. I'm a Prince George's County native, so not quite in DC, but right outside of DC. And I tell folks I only left for 4 years for undergrad, and I came right back home. It's hard.
Mm.
It's hard to leave this area for sure. And so, Paxton, you are a minority owner with the Washington Nationals, the Washington Castles, as well as the Washington Spirit. So, what led you to wanting to be a sports team owner, and why did you choose the Washington, D.C. teams?
Well, uh, I think for me, it's more the great opportunity, the great possibility to explore opportunities,
Mhm.
and from an opportunity like to be a part of a sports ownership group to me is something just overwhelmingly special. I grew up playing pretty much all of the major sports: basketball, baseball, and football through high school, and uh, I just have a deep passion for it. And along with that, I guess my other passion certainly has been music. And I've been able to explore as I've aged from a young person into an adult, both opportunities from a professional perspective. With uh, On the music side, started producing concerts in college at Temple University in the '80s, and never knowing something that started out being a passion for me from just enjoying it so deeply that it would end up becoming such a big part of my life and vocation. So I started producing concerts in college at Temple University, and ended up forming a production company in the late '80s while I lived in Miami Beach, and I was working with the actor Philip Michael Thomas the last couple of years of Miami Vice. And one person referred me to an opportunity. I went down to Aruba and got the job to produce the Aruba Jazz and Latin Music Festival, started the St. Lucia Jazz Festival a couple years later, And it really spread from there. Produced the festival in Amsterdam, produced a festival throughout pretty much, let's see,
Wow.
Barbados, St. Lucia, Anguilla, Turks and Caicos, Cayman Islands, Barbados, and then literally it just kind of grew from there. I met a team from BET back in 1991 when they came down for the Ariba Festival, and then we kind of collaborated on the '92 St. Lucia Jazz Festival and started that event together, which I produced for 24 years. Somewhere along the way, through developing a relationship with Bob Johnson, ended up pitching him on the TV show Caribbean Rhythms and produced that for a number of years. And then over time, after they became a client, Bob actually ended up purchasing my company the year before Viacom purchased BET. And so that kind of really blossomed and grew from there. So the love of music led me to that professionally. While I was at Black Entertainment Television as an executive, my dentist actually introduced me to the Lerner family. And that's how I joined the group. I met the Lerners through my dentist, Ron Rosenberg. And that just really blossomed and grew into a positive, meaningful friendship. So I guess the core answer, Candy, would be I pursue opportunities as an entrepreneur. And when given the opportunity to join the Lerner Group, I did right from the very beginning. And I'm the chairman of the founding partners group and was one of the original partners in the ownership group for the baseball team. Once in it, it's one thing leads to another. But once you kind of get a passion for it, and certainly meeting people and developing good relationships and friendships, that's how things kind of have worked for me. And so that's how I met the Lerner family. We developed a very special friendship and grew into professional partners. I've been a partner with them since 2006. I met Mark Ein through one of the boards that I was on, and he gave me the opportunity to join him with the Washington Castles. And then met Steve Baldwin, who gave me the opportunity to join him with the Washington Spirit.
That is amazing. And let me send my condolences to you as well as the Lerner family on the passing of Mr. Lerner not too long ago. I know a staple in the DC area, DC sports overall. And so we all mourn his loss as well. But that's just an incredible story of just being able to couple your passions for sports and music into all of the great and wonderful things that you've done. And now you've branched into the NBA Africa League as an investor with the Cape Town Tigers. So how has that process been so far?
It's been pretty positive. I got a chance to meet one of the partners in the ownership group. Same kind of a thing from the perspective of good relationships and kind of, I think energy is one of those things, you feel it or you don't. And so when I had the opportunity to meet Ibrahim Senya, that kind of started it. Then he introduced me to the other partners, Raphael, Dia, and Shante. And I got a chance to spend time with them in Salt Lake City during the NBA All-Star Weekend. And for me, it's pretty much about energy. And it's about energy from the perspective of you meet people. If you feel something, you feel like you can have a bond which can lead to something, you go with it. If the opportunity feels good to you, and if not, then you don't. But it's about energy. And so when I met them, I appreciated the vision that Ibrahim had for developing a team in the country of South Africa that could end up competing each year in the BAL, and I'll kind of explain a little about that in a minute. But I love sports, and basketball is my most passionate sport. I played baseball, basketball, and football, but as far as something that I still play at this point in my life, I still play basketball actively, and I think it's just one of the most amazing sports that you can have. Needing teamwork, not being able to, as great as any individual talent has been over time, it's always about whether or not they can build it into a team and win as a team. And it's integral to being successful is being able to develop something into a team perspective and go from there. So it's given me that opportunity. And I find that ownership is pretty much the same way as putting together something magnificent for what's on the field or the court or the floor, whatever it happens to be. It's the same kind of a thing. So uh, being able to kind of like come together, people bring in their strengths and building off of each other's passion, which is the core part to me from a success piece, is the amount of passion that you put into something. And then having enough maturity and success and luck to turn that passion into a winning formula that can translate in the front office and also can translate onto the court.
Now, Paxton, you just shared something, so I have to throw this question in there that basketball is your favorite sport. So can we ever catch you at Wizards games? I know you didn't mention being a part of the
Yeah,
Wizards ownership group, but do you often go to Wizards games?
I do. Actually, I was there. I'm going tomorrow night for the Saturday night game. But yeah, I'm a regular at Wizards games, and one of my best friends is Wolf Blitzer, and Wolf's been a season ticket holder, I think, for about 23 or 24 years now. So I go to games with a wide array of different friends, but I catch a lot of basketball games with Wolf as well.
Okay, that is very, very cool. So for a moment, we're going to go back to the Cape Town Tigers. So why was it important for you to make this investment?
So at Temple University, I studied African American studies, and I get from that just a real opportunity to learn a lot about the continent itself and to learn a lot about myself, which ultimately that's I think the best thing I possibly learned from college and my studies was a sense of self. As an African American, uh, often our history is not taught correctly, and certainly the history of Africa as a continent is in many ways is not taught correctly. Certainly as a young person coming up in California in the 1960s. So studying about Pan-Africanism, the great leaders from the wide array of different countries throughout Africa, the effect that it had on African Americans in this country, I got a chance to learn a different version of that at Temple University, and it gave me a really solid sense of self as a person. So I've traveled fairly extensively throughout Africa and have worked on music productions in Morocco, Ghana, as well as South Africa. So for the opportunity to build something as passionate as basketball, which I love, and then investment, which I've been doing for quite some time now. So basketball, South Africa, a country that I love. I did a festival in Durban for a couple of years called the Durban Jazz and Heritage Festival. So to be able to now come back, and Cape Town is just an incredible city. I should mention that as well. Not just the city of Cape Town, but the whole area, the Southern Horn of Africa, is just outstandingly beautiful. So to be able to kind of like bring a few, like all those different passions together and love of different things together was just an opportunity that I felt was very special. And I think it's a big step for an African American business person to be able to start doing business on the continent. And with the sports investment, those aren't things that you necessarily have to rush, and they take time to mature from an investment perspective. But when they do, they come along and give you some nice hits along the way. I wanted to clarify something a little bit earlier on the ownership part. So I'm a partner now with the Nationals, and I'm in the process of joining the ownership group for the DC Old Glory, which is the rugby team. But when the opportunity came to sell for both the Castles as well as the Spirit, I sold. And with the Spirit, with each of them, I was fortunate enough to be a part of championship runs. And with the Spirit, I came in 2015 when the ownership had just won their fifth championship in a row, and they won 6 championships in 7 years. And kudos to Mark Ine for just an incredible job that he did with the team. It's something he was extremely passionate about. And then Steve Baldwin and our group sold our interest in the Spirit last year after we won the 2021 National Women's Soccer League Championship in Louisville, Kentucky. So sports is an investment, and that's if you kind of treat it like business along with other things, then you can do pretty well with it. And when given great opportunities, and as I mentioned a little bit earlier, as far as contributing the strengths that you have and the skills and relationships that you have into a team, it's for me much like any other investment that you have. You when it's the opportunity to sell, you sell, and then you kind of build on to the next opportunity on the other side of it, which is what I've done in sports.
And so with that, in making those different investments in sports, can you share where there may be opportunities for more African Americans to invest in sports teams or sports conglomerates, if you will? What kind of advice, or how would we go about learning more about that?
Well, as far as I'm not sure if there's Candy. I'm not sure if there's any one place that you can necessarily go
Mhm.
to kind of learn about it. I think the core of it for me is building relationships, and then two, being able to have capital to
Mhm.
invest at the correct time. But it all comes through relationships without any exaggeration whatsoever.
Yeah.
The opportunity to build friendships, much like investment groups, and I certainly have run across enough people, African Americans or otherwise, who are partners in investment groups.
Yeah.
Uh, so in the process of kind of building out your relationships, learning, seeing where those things are, where they go, having your ears open, then as I mentioned, being capitalized. I don't know if there's one particular place that you can just say, here's where I'm going to be a part of it, but
Mhm.
it's more building quality friendships, and then being able to capitalize on it when the opportunity presents itself.
That is awesome. I mean, I think that's still a huge message, right? About the power of relationships. You mentioned earlier the power of energy, which I think is so compelling. We may over, I know for myself, I probably overcomplicate sometimes thinking about a business decision or business opportunity. And it's like, hey, if the energy is there, it's there. And if it's not, it's not.
Yeah, yeah, and I wholly agree with that. And for me, it's more, it's as an investor, it's opportunities,
Mhm.
kind of like seeing something like you kind of feel particular deal points that are there for you. I knew very little about rugby, but I had the opportunity to meet Chris Dunleavy and Paul Sheehy, and when I met them, I felt their passion for the DCO Glory. And on the other side of that, pretty quickly, I was like, "Hey, that sounds really interesting." And
Mhm.
here I'm now going into a new sport, which a while back I knew very little about on the rugby side, but I felt the passion of the investors. Each of the partners that I've been blessed to have an opportunity to work with, from the Cape Town Tigers to Mark Ein with tennis, to the Lerner family for baseball, to Steve Baldwin with the Washington Spirit. Each one, you could feel their energy, and as an entrepreneur, you kind of take to that. And I've been really fortunate. I've not had one investment which has not worked out well for me in the sports space. I wish I could say that across the board for every business that I've been into. I can't say that, but I can say as far as sports are concerned, I've been very, very fortunate.
That is great. That's great. Good stories only. Well, mostly, I think it says, right?
Hmm.
And so here's my last question before we close out. So, with all of your accomplishments, if you could send a message to your younger self right now, what would it be?
Boy, a message to my younger self. What would that be? To pursue my passions, for sure. To pursue my passions. I read somewhere as a younger person the whole piece about whatever it is that you do. And the Bible of my life, beyond the Bible, has been Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill,
Mm,
and talked about the importance of your mental attitude and following your dreams and your passions. I can say for myself that the going into and doing things that I really appreciate and enjoy, the opportunity of being successful with those has been much greater for me than pursuing other things. As I've gotten older, I've learned to do things that maybe I didn't know so much about, and I can learn on the job and grow into being successful on something. But it comes back to things that I really kind of believe in or things that I really enjoy. So it would be to not sell my dreams short, uh, to believe in myself, and to apply my mental attitude toward a positive mental attitude toward the things that I undertake. I was fortunate enough to run across the book Think and Grow Rich while I was 17 years old, and I started to read it. It took me a while to truly understand it, and it was somewhat hard in the beginning to kind of really grasp the secrets of wealth. But once it kind of locked in inside me, it developed a passion within myself that I've been able to positively exploit. And I think a positive mental attitude is something that people can sense in you.
Mhm.
And if you have it, the opportunity to attract positive energy to you is just that much easier than otherwise. So thoughts are things, and I think they're very tangible. And I've been able to put positive thoughts inside my head and be pretty successful in seeing them manifest itself. So the core of it, like on the younger self part, would be to really believe in my dreams and not to at any given point along the way sell my dreams short or think that they couldn't happen for me, because so many of them have.
That is truly inspiring. And thank you so much for sharing. It's a question that I know sometimes people like that question, others don't, but it's like
Hmm.
you can really close it out on an inspiring note and just,
But do you like the question, by the way?
yes, I love the
Okay.
question.
And so if I can on that one, by way of a little bit of dialogue, what would you have told your younger self?
And that is a great question for me, because I actually would have told my younger self what you just mentioned, and that was to not let go of your dreams. For me, I kind of let my passions die, if you will. I let it die,
Wow.
lie dormant, because I said, well, a woman in sports is not going to go very far. I got a lot of, listening to not listening to people who really did not have probably my best interest
Hmm.
at their core. It was like, why you want to go into sports? You're making good money doing this and that and that. It's too hard in the industry. It's not welcoming to Black women. So I would just stay away from it if I were you. And it just never went away
Hmm.
for me.
Okay.
And I said, hey, just give it a shot. And to your point, it's been fruitful, it's been worthwhile, it's been inspirational all along the way. Sure, everything doesn't go your way, but I think I wish I would have just stuck and trusted my gut and my spirit years ago when I
Hmm.
knew this was what I wanted to do.
Actually, ironically, as far as women and women of color in particular, our original partners group, our founding partners group for the Nationals, there was a sister named Faye Fields who was a part of it. She's unfortunately passed on, but beautiful sister, incredible. She was on the National Girl Scouts Association board and was extremely accomplished business person. And then, in addition, the Washington the Spirit was purchased by a Asian woman named Michelle King, and she is the first majority owner of a professional Asian woman professional sports organization in the United States. So those are just two examples, and I'm sure there's many, many more. But those are two examples of people who didn't take no or didn't allow people to sway them, and were both extremely successful businesswomen in their own right. So I would much like African Americans being discouraged from a wide array of different things, I know that females often are as well. So, but I've seen in my life both be successful pursuing their passions and getting to the top of their game.
Mhm.
And so, for doors that were or are closed to us, there have been bright and shining examples of people who've broken through. And I can say that I'm proud to be a part of that crew or group of people who have. And I often tell young people when I'm given the opportunity to speak to younger people that if I did it, certainly anybody else certainly can as well. Uh, there was no magic elixir for me as a young person, and there's more things that are kind of like closed against you than are open. But if you have the correct energy and desire and passion, that you can knock down those doors. I've seen examples of it. I've been a part of it myself. So I encourage younger people to back to your kind of question. Don't allow anybody to step on your dream or tell you that you can't do it. I've seen too many people use it as motivating factors who've done it, Michael Jordan included. So yeah, it's there for you.
Yeah, it really, really is. It really, really is. And then we get to meet amazing people like yourself that confirm that very point. So I thank you so much, Paxton, for joining me and hopping on and sharing your story and sharing everything that you're doing. If you're open to it, I would love to continue to check back in so
That
that we can
works for
share
me.
with our viewers and readers and the like
CWall.
what you're doing on. That's right. You all.
CWall. Yes. Count on. I'd be glad to do so. And I'm chasing my fourth ring now. So just joining the DCO Glory. So DCO Glory and also the Cape Town Tigers. So Cape Town will be my first international championship ring that I get an opportunity to grow. And I just want to add in one particular piece about Cape Town, which is so exciting, is that the
Yes.
NBA really has put out a lot of resources, energy. They've already the brand and the business is already the valuation is well over $1 billion. I think the number I heard at All Star was 1.6 or 1.7 billion valuation for NBA Africa or Basketball Africa League. So I'm looking forward to that being my first international championship ring. And I want to join the great Bill Russell one day and be able to look up and say, I've got 11, so I'm 3 along the way, and hope the Cape Town Tigers make the 4th for me.
Yeah, that would be awesome. It must feel great to be a champion.
Incredible. Like literally, that energy is. I mean, I've actually in sports I've won trophies and won victories for amateur games, but as far as being a part of a championship, a professional sports league championship, that is just a special feeling. And it's almost like if you could bottle that particular thought every day, you'd you never have a bad day.
No, I can only imagine, and perhaps one day I will get to see Paxton.
It's
I
possible. I did it.
Yeah, because you've done it. It has given me the encouragement that I can do it too. And
There you
I'll be
go.
like, Paxton, you're right. Being a champion at the professional level is indeed incredible.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Paxton. Again, we'll be checking back in with you and seeing if you have that ring or if you're on the pursuit to the ring, which we know you already are. Are you on social media at all?
Yes, Paxton K. Baker on Instagram and Twitter.
Okay, awesome. You all heard it. Paxton K. Baker on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you give him a follow. Thank you again so much, Paxton, for being here with me today. And I'll be talking to you all again soon.
Thanks, Candy. Hope to get you out to the ballpark sometime soon this season, and go Nats.
Yes, absolutely. You know I'll be there.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.